Welcome
it looks
back.
a little different in here, doesn't it?
I know. It feels weird to be holding these things.
It kind of does.
Wait, you have yours like up and down and mine's like sideways. How should it be?
I don't know.
Did you see? I mean, I'm sure you've seen other podcasts, but they have like boxes with like their logos on it. Did you talk about
Oh,
it?
no.
It's like a mic box. Like it's on their stand, but they're like, and then their logos on it. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, we're not that fancy here at the Wrestling Wives.
No, we're supporting Sure mics.
Yeah. Well, we do everything on our own. I bet if we were like in a studio or something, they'd be like, you need to have your logo everywhere.
Yeah, and then they do it for us.
Yeah.
So
We don't have that luxury
Not
here.
yet.
we're
Maybe
still
one day.
in the baker's household.
We gotta get more subscribers. So subscribe.
Yeah, so subscribe to YouTube so we can get I don't know.
A producer? What would
Yeah,
that be called?
ooh, a
Like an
producer.
assistant. Then we would have to do all the editing and all that stuff.
Anybody interested? It'd be pro bono.
Internship? Anybody?
Yeah, internship.
Okay. Anyways,
I don't know what it would be good for your internship, but it would do
school,
something.
if that's what you're doing
Oh.
for school, you know.
I never thought about that. Where's
Yeah.
Tommy?
Yeah. Oh, he was our intern at State.
Yeah,
It's summertime. Well, it's not summertime yet, but that's
we
coming
miss
up.
you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Come
Tommy
back.
Tudo, come back. Just kidding. Okay.
Well, okay, welcome.
Yeah.
We had no wrestling this weekend.
Yes. If you watched our stories, Mara, what did you do?
I was up in Wisconsin.
Your native land,
Yes.
the land of your people.
Which is so funny because I was like, I didn't want to like put where my family lives, which you guys know because I've like talked about where I grew up. But like, I was just talking about this with my dad because he came down, and it's so funny because I'm like, oh, I'm going up to Wisconsin. It's only an hour away. Like I make it seem like I'm going on a journey or like a traveling far. It's literally an hour. It takes longer, you said, to get to your parents' house in Illinois.
Yeah.
Than it does to get to my dad's house.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, wow, I'm so dramatic sometimes. I'm like, oh, I have to
You're
travel.
going into the land.
Yeah, I have to travel up to Wisconsin, but it's literally an hour. It's
Yeah.
not bad at all. But no, I was up there. We did Easter on Saturday. Got to hang out with my niece and nephew, my sister, and my dad, and my brother-in-law. And yeah, we just did a bunch of activities.
I know you were
was
like
really
so
fun.
many activities.
So many activities. And then I got like a foot cramp. And I was like, Nelson, he wasn't there to rub my feet for me. So I had my dad do it. Shout out Dave. And I took a nap.
Oh, that was good.
I don't know how I napped in like the chaos of everything up there,
Yeah.
but I did.
Oh, that's good.
We played a lot of games, which was really fun. Bennett's at a fun age. He's 4. He'll be 5 this October. So he's in a fun age of like, he understands games. He wants to play games.
Yeah.
He wants to win. So there's that aspect of like, you have to play by the rules or, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. But he does good.
Rocky the wrestling dog.
He does. Yeah. But it was fun. And Harper's so cute. She's
so
9
cute.
months, 8.5, 9 months now.
Oh, so cute.
So she's just a really fun age.
Yeah.
And like I'm not around her a lot, but me and my sister FaceTime almost every day. So Harper like knows my face and hears me all the time.
Yeah.
So I like got there and she like knew right who I was or whatever. And my dad's like, she's so good with you. She knows you. I'm like,
She also probably knows your voice.
yeah. I'm like, also like I sound like my sister. So she's probably like, oh, I know who this lady is. But it was just really
Similar.
funny. My dad was like totally caught off guard that she like knew who I was. I'm like, well, I FaceTime my sister every single day.
Yeah.
So, but it was really fun. And then we had Easter. And then we came back down to the Bakers yesterday. My dad was here. And then he just left this morning. We had like a nice just
Mm.
chill. He brought the crib down. So that
Oh,
room
that's
is
nice.
getting ready. And
I'm sad I missed Mr. Nelson. And you told me he was coming down, but
Yeah.
I didn't like put it together.
it was really fast. It was really fast. It was like just a quick trip.
So we talked about Mr. Nelson before, so Mara's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, and how he looks like Tom and Terry Brands.
Yes.
Mixed with Dennis Quaid. We said that in our last
Yes.
episode and like in previous episodes. But finally this week we will post on our stories like a side by side. We got to get permission. We got to get a picture from Mr. Nelson
Yeah.
and permission
Yeah.
to post it. And then you guys can vote and let us know if you think he really does look like
Yeah.
the Brands and Mr. Quaid.
Yeah. That's what, so Nelson was the first one to be like, your dad looks like the Brands brothers. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't know who they were at first. Like, a long time ago. I'm like, okay. And then I like saw, I'm like, oh my gosh, he does. And then when we were at the NCAAs, I was like, no, he looks like a mix.
Yeah.
Or no, the Brands brothers look like a mix between my dad and Dennis Quaid.
yeah.
Like, they like, there they
Maybe
are.
there's like an AI program that can like mix them together and then
Probably. I bet Nelson could do that for
and
us.
it'd be Dave. Oh yeah, he probably could with his
Yeah.
whatever
his
AI
app
thing.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nelson did do wrestling stuff this weekend. I
Okay.
just didn't.
Yeah.
So he went down to the Washington Is it Greco and freestyle or just Greco knows? Just Greco. He's in the background. Sorry, guys. The Greco Washington camp, and your husband joined him too.
Yeah, so I also didn't do any wrestling related activities. My kids have all been sick like consecutively, so it's my last child that's sick right now. So we're gonna make it through. But so I stayed home, and Brian went to the Greco camp on Friday and Saturday. So our husbands were doing wrestling things, and I was at home, and I caught up on laundry like I mentioned on the stories, and I was really happy. I'm day 2 of being caught up on laundry, and it feels great.
That's exciting.
Great, but yeah, it was nice to not have the wrestling. Like to have, because there was a tournament this week, and it was an Naperville tournament.
Oh, yeah, that's
the one that took like 50 million hours last year.
And it didn't this year. I asked Nolan.
I saw that Mario Lopez was there.
Yeah, random. So what I heard was, this is what I got yesterday from the Bakers. He had a move. He's filming a movie, or something,
a Christmas movie in Chicago. Because I follow him on Instagram. So he's filming.
Is he Hallmark? Is he like?
I think it's like a Hallmark. Okay. Hallmark or like a similar vibes. Yeah.
So then and I was like, and so Nolan coached against his son.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I didn't know there were any of that little kid. Whatever. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, something like that. And I was like, I saw that he was there.
Yeah.
That's just random.
Yeah. Well, he like, I mean, you know that. He was like a wrestler and like what, but it random that he was here and that he went to a tournament. Yeah, that was random.
But I mean, go off. Okay, cool.
And I think his kid got first. So like, awesome.
Dang.
Right? So that's what I saw on Instagram.
I mean, I would have been a little starstruck just because I was a big Saved by the Bell girly.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I watched like all of the Saved by the Bell on like TBS in the mornings.
Yeah.
Like my mom, I was allowed to watch that, how? Because that show was weird. But anyway, like, I probably would have been like, oh my gosh. But that's all I know him from. I don't know him from anything else. Like for me, Mario Lopez is Saved by the Bell.
Same.
Yeah.
He's been in like a whole bunch of other things. He was like a talk show host or something.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so that would have been cool. Oh, like you said, I would probably been like, oh, that's Mario Lopez. But his kid, I think he posted like a side by side, and his kid looks just like him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw that he was wrestling in Izzy style.
Yeah. So I think from like I didn't look into it, but like I follow Mario Lopez, and then I follow Izzy style, and then I followed somebody else that posted about it. So because he was here for the movie, his kid practiced all week with Izzy style.
Oh, that makes sense.
So and then like that's how they
found like a club in Chicago.
So that's cool. Sense. And I feel like if our husbands, or if we were famous, our husbands would do the same thing.
Oh,
like
100%.
They'd find a club and then like have the kid wrestle. So that's awesome.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, like when you guys went out to Colorado, Brian's like, is there practice anywhere?
Yeah.
And when we went to Hawaii, is there practice anywhere?
Yeah.
No.
So
I could totally see you doing that. So you know what? That gives us some sort of like, our husbands aren't crazy. It's a wrestling thing.
I think it is the wrestling thing for sure. I know, like, we've talked about it like millions of times, but there's like, you said that the Bakers would go to like Disneyland and like different places and wrestle.
Sure, yeah.
And Brian's old high school coach, like in the summer, they have an RV and then they just hit all the duels on the East Coast and just do like,
that's
and
fun.
Then, so like that's, so they're not crazy. They're just wrestlers.
Yeah, I think you should, they're just wrestlers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was our weekend. Very chill. Yeah. Now we'll start freestyle and Greco tournaments.
Yes.
I mean, we did admin work for our club this last week, but we didn't go to anything wrestling. Like we were at practice every night this last week.
Yeah.
Doing admin stuff, but.
And I think it's been fun. So like this episode's going to be a lot about freestyle and Greco.
It is, yep.
And I've talked to a few kids since we were at practice about kids and parents about like that's their first year doing freestyle and Greco.
Yeah.
And I think they're all so excited. Like we were talking to a mom and she was like, my son went home and like looked at YouTube all night on like the rules and like what that means and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's so exciting. And then my kids didn't go to practice because they were sick and they were so sad. Like there were tears every day because they could not go to practice. So I think that's fun. Like not fun, but like that just shows that they have fun at practice. Yeah. So I'm really excited for our tournament this weekend. I'm not sure. There's 2 scheduled for our club. I'm not sure if we're going to one or both or what is happening.
I know Nelson's not going on Saturday, so I probably won't go.
Yeah. That one's in Wisconsin. But
breathe.
Yeah. No, that'd be good. 2 tournaments is a lot, but we missed practice, so I'm sure we'll be at both.
Yeah, it is a lot. I at least need one day at the house for me in my brain.
Yeah. But hopefully it's nicer weather because it's been blah.
Yeah. It's like a sick joke. like it's gonna snow. I'm like, ew.
Yeah, on Thursday. So hopefully we get the spring going soon. But yeah, so Freestyle and Greco is what we're gonna talk about. So the reason we have these is because we have a special guest
that's gonna join us.
Yes.
Enter Nelson Baker.
Where is he? Yes.
Yeah. No, just sit on. Can you sit on the floor?
I can't sit on the floor yet.
Do you want a pillow? No, I don't want to give him my pillow. Love you. Hello, Nelson Baker.
Sit on the two ends of this.
Yeah,
there you go.
Works.
This is not comfortable.
Okay,
It works.
it's like a wall sit on a little bit of a cushion.
Take it away.
Wait.
Aren't I supposed to answer questions?
Yes, we have questions for you. Okay. So we have Nelson Baker, Mara's husband, here to answer some questions about freestyle and Greco stuff, because we do know in general, nationwide and statewide, freestyle and Greco has like taken off alongside like the explosion of like women's wrestling and like the resurgence of folk style wrestling and all that stuff after COVID. So we're just gonna try to get him to answer some questions that you guys may have, some questions that we had when we started and stuff like that. So, Nelson.
Yes.
Okay, so this is pertaining to high school students. So can you just talk a little bit about like Fargo and like the national tournaments, the qualifiers, and like how that kind of all works, and like why it's important to possibly go to Fargo if you qualify and stuff like that. So
yeah, so we can kind of think of Fargo as like the high school United States version of the Olympics, in which you don't just go by yourself, you represent your state just like you represent, your country at the Olympics or the World Championships and stuff. And so there are a lot of different types of national tournaments that you can find in the world of wrestling, but there are only really a few that are respected by everyone as actually being called nationals, and those are ones that are hosted by USA Wrestling. You'll hear about Winter Nationals or Midwest Nationals or Viper Pit Nationals or different types of things. But when you really talk about being a national champ, that means that you went out and you participated at Fargo, or you went out and you participated at Kids Nationals put on by USA Wrestling, or Folk Style Nationals put on by USA Wrestling. And what Fargo is the national championships that's put on by USA Wrestling for Freestyle and Greco. And that's for the 16U and the junior divisions. And the way that it works is that you have to qualify. You can't just raise your hand and say that you want to go to Fargo in a place like Illinois. Maybe there are some smaller states that, there's not enough participation. Like if you were, no offense to Alabama, I'm just using that as an abstract state, but there might not be enough people in the state of Alabama that are competing for the spots. So in other states, you might just be able to kind of sign up and go. But in Illinois and many other states, there's a qualification process. So each state has 4 spots that they can send to Fargo at each weight. That's for freestyle, Greco, and women's freestyle. So the way that Illinois chooses to do it, to figure out who their 4 representatives at nationals are, is that they hold the freestyle state championships and the Greco state championships. And if you place top 3 at any of those tournaments, you are qualified to represent Team Illinois at Fargo. All right, but I previously had said that we have 4 spots. That 4th spot is saved for a tournament that's called Second Chance. And anybody after these qualification tournaments are over that haven't yet qualified, everybody that still wants to try and qualify can enter a winner-takes-all tournament to get that 4th spot. Now, there are other ways that you can be automatically qualified that could theoretically give states more than 4 people at each weight. There are what are called regional championships, like Northern Plains and Southern Plains and Central Plains and Northwestern Plains. If you take top 6 at those tournaments, you will qualify for nationals, and that doesn't go against your state's number of 4. Yeah. But I
didn't know that.
Those tournaments are pretty hard. Like, for us in the Midwest, if you're placing top 6 at Northern Plains, you are probably already qualified. You probably already took top 3 in your state. That's like the best people from Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, all entered into one big bracket. So that's kind of an overview of Fargo. And then those Fargo brackets, if you took 4 kids from each state, I mean, that could be a 200 person bracket. I know when I went to Fargo, there was upwards of 120, 130 kids in your bracket, and only the top 8 get to be on the podium and get to call themselves All-Americans. So
wait, hold on. What?
Yes.
I mean, I knew there were big brackets, but everyone isn't like Is there like a limit?
Yeah, it's weird because that part always confused me when Nelson would be like, when you qualify for you get your 4 spots, but then you have the Northern Plains and stuff, and they don't count against it, so you get to still send those kids.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's why there's like so many kids.
That would be like if each state took all 4 kids at the weight, which some states don't even send a team. You know, there are some states. But I mean, I've been on teams and I've coached teams at Illinois where we might have 11 guys at one weight, right? Because we had the top 4 from, we had the top 4 from the state, and then we maybe had 3 kids in the state that placed at Northern Plains. We might have had another 3 that went to Central Plains and, took top 6. And then there might have been a kid or 2 that was an All-American from the previous year or something like that automatically qualified them. So there are ways to exceed that number of 4. And many times Illinois will. There's hardly ever a weight in which Illinois sends less than 4 wrestlers. But yeah. And then those brackets, I mean, however many people show up is how many people can be in that bracket.
I mean, like I knew, but like I also didn't know that they could be that big. Because isn't there? I think Brian, or maybe you told me that like you went to Fargo and you won like 8 matches, and then you didn't even.
Yeah,
place.
I still did not place. Yeah, I think I might have gone like 7-2 and didn't place. I mean, you can have tons and tons of matches, and at the end of the tournament, there will be. Wait time goes out the door. You could be getting called to your next mat as you're getting your hand raised. So you don't have much time to recover. I mean, when it gets down to it, it gets really, really fast paced.
And then is that why, I mean, I guess I'm answering my own question, but towards the end of the bracket where you're getting like, quarters or semis, you have, for example, Illinois is pretty good in the freestyle and Greco. So you have Illinois versus Illinois because they made it all the way through the bracket and there's so many kids.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. You said you kind of said it at the beginning, but can you explain like why it is so important to go to Fargo if you qualify, and like why it is such a big deal that you qualified for Fargo and why you should go?
Yeah, I mean, there could be 100 different ways to answer that depending on who you are. But I think one of the biggest things about wrestling at Fargo is it just shows that you have committed, X amount of time after the folk style season is over, to learning and understanding a new style of wrestling or possibly 2 new styles of wrestling. And you've become competitive with that. I mean, it is hard to qualify for Fargo in the state of Illinois. And it's also really, really cool because it's an opportunity to see wrestlers from all around the country. Like there's very few opportunities for a wrestler from Illinois to wrestle someone from California, in the folk style season. I mean, most times when we're looking at folk style season, unless you're at the top tier and you're traveling to tournaments like Super 32 and, these big tournaments, it's kind of a regional scene. You wrestle the best kids in Illinois. You might see an Iowa kid now and then. You might see a Wisconsin kid now and then. But, freestyle and Greco, especially Northern Plains and Fargo and these different types of things are a good opportunity to not only see national level competition, but also to go and represent your state. Once you get to Fargo, it's Team Illinois. It's not I wrestle for Izzy Style or I wrestle for Overtime or I wrestle for Forge or I wrestle for, it's just you put on an Illinois singlet, and that's something that's really, really cool and something that I took a lot of pride in when I wrestled. And now I take a whole bunch of pride in being a coach for Team Illinois as well. And you get to, as a kid, you get to make relationships and connections with other coaches, with other kids. From coaches' perspectives, you get to learn and work with some of the best kids in the state that, you then see all around the state during the regular season. You see them at tournaments, you say hi to them, you see them at state, you give them a high five. It's really cool. The networking possibilities that you can get from freestyle and Greco and Fargo and just wrestling in the spring and summer in general.
Is it true that too, like if you're thinking about wrestling in college, like there are a lot of eyes on you at Fargo, right?
Absolutely. I mean, every college program, I would say to a certain extent, has a scout or someone that is paying attention to Fargo, whether they're physically there in the building or whether they're watching on Flow Wrestling or they're keeping track of brackets on Track Wrestling or Flow Arena or whatever it's on now. Fargo is a place where people go from being unheard of to instantly within 2 days being on the top of many, many very competitive college programs lists of recruits.
Yeah. Okay, so in your professional / unprofessional, I guess, opinion, what's like the correlation, or how as like someone who's looking to recruit someone or someone who's like talking about who's a good wrestler or whatever, what's like the correlation you would say with like state champ, Fargo champ? Like, are they like equal? Are there some people who are like, don't do that well at Fargo, but were state champ? Like what, like just give us a little thought.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is, I kind of have two different perspectives on this because I've been a college wrestler and I'm a current club coach and I was also a wrestler in high school. Being an All-American at Fargo in almost any style is much more respected, in my opinion, if I were a college coach, than someone contacting me or me going to a state championships and looking at, oh, this person is a state champ. Because when you look at, let's say 120 pounds, which is a really common high school weight, you can get freshmen at 120 pounds, you can get seniors at 120 pounds. There are very few states that only have one division within high school, right? Yeah. So even within Illinois, like I was a 1A state champ 2 times in the state of Illinois, but each time I was a state champ, I was one of 3 people who could call themselves a state champ at that weight in that state. Yeah. So if you think that there's probably an average of about 3 divisions per state in the United States, I mean, that's 150 state champs every year at 120 pounds. And there are some states, I was just looking at Georgia's brackets, they have 7 divisions in Georgia.
Oh.
So, I wrestled with a kid at this camp I went to, and I wanted to look up to see how he did in Georgia, and there was 7 132-pound state champs.
Oh, okay.
So don't get me wrong, you can't take anything away from a kid that calls themselves a state champ. Nobody could take that away from them. That is theirs for their entire life. But the idea that, a state champ is something now that a college coach is like, absolutely yes, without context, that's not a whole lot of information. Are you an Illinois 3A state champion? Okay. I know that you have to be pretty good to be that type of person. Are you a state champion in Indiana or New Jersey or California in which there's just one division? Okay, that really, really means something. But, a Fargo All-American, I mean, that, especially in freestyle and Greco, obviously that's what is competed there. You are top 8 out of everyone.
Yeah.
At any given, in my brackets that I went to Fargo, I assumed that everyone that I was wrestling was a state champion from their state. Yeah. Right? This guy's from Georgia, I assume he's a state champ. This guy's from California, I assume he's a state champ. This guy's from Pennsylvania, I assume he's a state champ. I am the state champ from Illinois.
So even like any win. Sorry, you can.
My leg's falling asleep. I'm just gonna sit.
Wait, there you go.
I'm
okay,
still in there.
So even, not to take anything away from like people who don't have a win at Fargo, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins is like. I mean, obviously you didn't All-American or whatever, but like that's still, you wrestled against maybe somebody who won a state champ.
Absolutely massive. If you go, 1 and 2, I mean, beating anybody in that bracket. I mean, that's the bracket that's got the baddest dudes in the entire country. Like it is, being at that tournament is something to be very, very proud of, at least from where we are from. Again, I don't know how each state does their qualification process. Like I said, there might be states, again, I said Alabama. I'm not talking bad about Alabama. It's just a state that I don't know much about. There might only be 1 or 2 clubs that are wrestling freestyle and Greco, and Alabama might reach out to everybody and say, hey, we're putting together our team. Who wants to go? And assuming that there's not going to be more than 4 people that raise their hands at any given weight. And if there is, maybe there's a trial process. In Illinois, I mean, we've got 50, 60 people at each weight trying to get those 4 spots. So, it's really, really, really competitive.
So how long, like, I know the answer, I think, but like how long is so the bracket's big. So obviously Greco's one, freestyle's another, but like how long does a tournament like?
It's like an entire week long of wrestling.
For each style?
No, for all styles included.
Okay.
So there's 16U women's, there's junior women's, there's 16U Greco, there's junior Greco, there's 16U freestyle, and there's junior freestyle. And every one of those brackets is probably going to have more than 100 people in them. But Fargo is in the Fargo Dome at North Dakota State University, and they've got almost 30 mats down. Like, it does go,
and
but
it goes fast, right?
It's a whole week of wrestling, nonstop.
But it's like one style first.
Mm-hmm.
So like Greco, how many days?
Like
3 days? 2 days?
I would say 3 days total for Greco. I would say 4 days total for men's freestyle, and then probably 4 days total for women's freestyle.
Oh.
The Greco numbers are probably just a little bit lower than others. But.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, I knew that because I watched Fargo at home last year, but yeah, that's a lot. Okay.
But yeah.
Wow. Wait, so question. Do you have a question, Mara? Or anything? Okay. I just don't want to keep asking questions because I keep thinking of them. So like in contrast, so another goal of freestyle and Greco, right, in the older divisions would be like the dual teams, right? So like, what's not the difference, but like, I don't know, just talk about that a little bit. So not just like the dual team tournament or like anything like that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So when we talk about Fargo, that is individual nationals, right? You go as Team Illinois. They do give a tournament champion for essentially the team that scores the most points. However, there is also a dual championship. And the dual championship is held in a different spot every 2 years. These last 2 years, it was in Rockford, Illinois, which is just, 15 minutes from us. This year, it's held out in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's been down in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Spokane, Washington. It's all over the place. But each team, each state, the same age groups and styles are competed. So there's a 16U freestyle, there's a junior freestyle, there's a 16U Greco, there's a junior Greco, there's a 16U women's and a junior women's. But each state, however their process is, and each state does it differently. But each state brings their absolute baddest dude or dudettes at each weight and pits them up into a bracket that has, each state's best dual team. And sees who gets to come out on top. And then, each team then can win and vie for a national dual championship as well.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like how earlier before we were podcasting, you're talking about the Olympics, which we'll kind of touch on at the end here. But it kind of reminds me like for the dual team about that. It's like I'm not a part of it, but you guys are sending like the best of the best to be on the dual team. Yeah. So, and they can, from my understanding, they can look at your, how you qualified at state, but also like it also just depends on how you performed throughout the whole season, right? Kinda?
Yeah, you try to be as objective as possible.
Yeah, but like they want the best on the team.
Each state is completely free to compile their dual team how.
Yeah. But what they're looking for is the best because they want to win the national championship for the duels.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there are also... Sorry.
No, that's all I got.
There are also seeding points. So like, you want to try to put as many All-Americans or returning All-Americans from Fargo the previous year onto your dual team because they seed the tournament based on how many points your team has. So like if you had, Bobby, who won nationals last year at Fargo, you would want him represented on your dual team because he's going to bring X amount of seeding points for your team.
Okay. Is there a 14U team?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
There's a 14U dual team as well.
Yeah. I don't know how I know that, but I just remember knowing that.
And then there's also kids nationals that is like Fargo for every age division that's younger, all the way down to 8U.
Yeah, and then so this is my unprofessional remembering opinion, I guess. So for folk style or freestyle and Greco nationals, you also have to qualify. So you have to have gone at least to a regional tournament. I don't know if you have to have placed or anything, but you have to have gone to one of the regional tournaments, or you can submit a form requesting to be admitted to the tournament.
Yeah.
This is for the littles. This is so like it's 8U, 10U, and 12U.
And 14U.
And 14U for the freestyle kids nationals. And this year it's in Iowa. Yeah, Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids or Cedar Falls.
Is that, wait, Cedar Rapids, is that where UNI is?
That's Cedar Falls. I don't know. Cedar something.
Cedar something. Yeah. So that's like a thing for little kids or younger kids to look forward to. The specifically in Illinois, like Iowa's not that far. So I don't know how long we'll be held there, but that's a thing for the littles to go. And it's not as popular, I would say, right, Nelson? Like not as many kids. I mean, it's not Fargo comparable.
No, you're not going to see brackets as big as Fargo, but I think moving the tournament to the Midwest is going to attract a lot more numbers than it did in Salt Lake City, Utah. So.
Yeah.
Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids.
So we did confirm it is Co-College that is in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah. Okay.
Cedar Falls, I believe, has UNI.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
I'm a recent UNI fan, so.
Even though
what?
We were cheering against hardcore last year, Doug Schwab.
Oh, yes. Okay, so this is funny. And Allison Schwab, I think she listens to the podcast. We talk to her on Instagram all the time. And like we said last week, she is Doug Schwab's wife. Yeah. So this is funny. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but we could say it. So we were at the duels, as we said before.
In Illinois, RIP, it's not there.
In Rockford. And Mara and I were like invested. We've said this before. Like we went without our husband. I mean, Nelson was there coaching. But like we would go without Brian, and I just haul all my kids to the tournament. I have a video of Amos sleeping at the tournament.
I left work early because it was the Greco championship that day, and I told my boss, I'm like, there is a national championship on the line. I need to leave work.
So we were really invested, and obviously another team that you would think would be good at the dual teams would be Iowa, right? And Mara and I were really invested in the dual, and we're not a fan of all the Iowa coaches. Like, they were intense. They were like, very Iowa.
At that moment, we were not a fan. Okay.
No.
In the heat of the moment.
And we ended up losing to Iowa, right? Did we?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Sore subject. But we were so upset, and we were like, I think we were sitting on the Iowa side of the bleachers.
On accident?
And we were just like really upset. Like, the coaches are making us like, ugh.
No, it wasn't even the coaches. It was like the parents.
Well, it was just, we were not.
A mixture.
Are not. Okay, go ahead.
You guys are going to lose your Iowa fans if you keep talking bad about Iowa.
No, this is funny.
No, it's funny.
This is funny. So we're in this moment, okay, our
it was just
emotions
it was
for this
so
moment.
Heated. Yeah.
And whatever. They won, so like fair and square, I guess. But anyway, so we then fast forward to this free folk style season. We're like, Allison Schwab, like, she's the best. Like, she's so funny. And her husband, like, we love him. Like, she posts him on Instagram, and he has like all these like motivational things that he posts like from the practices. And then my husband's like, oh, he has like good information about like your mindset and like all this stuff. And then Mara's like, what did you
I literally realized, I'm like, that was the head coach of the Iowa team that we despised, and then we felt so bad.
But we're fans, so like this is where the Iowa fans should come back. So like we like really like Allison Schwab, and
we like Doug.
We like Doug. We were cheering for you and I. Like we obviously have never met either of them,
but
still we are there. But that was something that in the dual like atmosphere was so heated. But he's looks like a great coach. Like I know he's a great coach. He's got great wrestlers. His kids are. Look like they're pretty, well-rounded, and Allison's the best. So yeah, we love the Schwabs.
It was just funny because in the heat of the moment at the duels, we were just so mad at Iowa, and then it was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, Doug Schwab. I mean, when you look at Division I. When you look at Division I college coaches, he's one of the most prominent faces in the college wrestling scene. He's a guy that when you listen to, you want to run through a wall, even if you're just, watching him on a video on your phone. But I mean, from a coaching perspective, it doesn't matter, what team or what state or what coaches or what wrestler is across the way. Like it's just on. Like you can have a ton of respect for somebody and still end up jawing at him across the wrestling mat. And again, Doug Schwab is somebody that's way more prominent in the scene than I am, but we're all wrestling coaches. We're all hard-headed, and we had fabricated a extremely, extremely bitter rivalry between Illinois and Iowa for that weekend specifically, because if you look at the brackets, you see the two teams that are on a crash course towards each other, and it ended Iowa versus Illinois in the finals of Freestyle and Greco. So just the whole week, we were preaching that Iowa people on Twitter were saying that they were coming to our state to take our trophy, and it was fun banter. But at the end of the day, I mean, everybody wants what's best for the kids. And also at the end of the day, we're talking about kids that are under the age of 16. Like it is not that serious, but it is fun to have those rivalries and to really see high level wrestling at that age.
So we were that close to Doug Schwab.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's cool now to think about. But yeah, so we went like a whole thing about freestyle and Greco and the duels and whatever. But I think from our perspective, I mean, my kids are little, and then obviously Mara's baby's not wrestling at this time. But we would say that doing those national tournaments, if possible, like it should be something that could be a goal, could be like something that maybe you guys look forward to, like your family and your kids, like something that you guys should definitely participate in. And then the next level, I guess, would be we could talk briefly about the Olympics.
Yes. I guess, do we want to say it all? Maybe we'll do another episode about like the difference between folk style and then freestyle and Greco, but just know that that's coming, and we'll try to explain the best of our ability.
Oh, like rule wise and stuff like that. Oh yeah,
but that'll be another episode because that's a lot.
Yeah,
and we only have Nelson for so long.
Yeah,
so we can talk about the Olympics a little bit.
Just the Olympics. So they're this year.
Yeah, they're this year. The trials, I looked it up. It's April 19th and 20th for the U.S. and it's at Penn State.
Yeah.
So
and then obviously in the Olympics, it's freestyle and Greco, and then women's freestyle that are wrestled. So another reason why, if maybe that's a goal of your child, like freestyle and Greco, you could learn it right now.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think like what Nelson explained to me is like the U.S. is weird, and we wrestle folk style, but like the rest of the world wrestles freestyle and Greco. Yeah. So, like, ultimately, if you want to be an Olympian, you have to wrestle freestyle and Greco. You know what I mean? Like, if that's like the goal of your, right? Is that like the epitome of your career, right? Possibly to go be an Olympian. So like
win gold.
You kind of have to know what freestyle and Greco is if your kid is that serious, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, the qualifying is really confusing, and Nelson's explained it to me 75 times. So if we want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I guess just like a what it's called, like a preview of like what the Olympic trials is and like why it's important, if in case anybody wants to watch it on TV or like they're gonna see all this media on it on like Instagram.
And I think maybe if we could focus just on the 57 kilograms, because I think we just talked about a bunch of those guys in our last episode, and so I think that's kind of the fun. That's kind of the like where I'm at. Like I'm really interested to see who we're actually, hopefully, if we qualify, we're going to be sending to the Olympics. So.
Yeah, so I will try to keep it as basic as I can. And this is also the qualification process as I understand it. I mean, things change all the time. Maybe I don't quite understand it, off the get-go. But on non-Olympic years, right? So every year that doesn't end in, an even number or, like let's say 2023 was a non-Olympic year. United World Wrestling hosts the World Championships. And if you win the World Championships, obviously you are a world champion. And sometimes you think like, okay, well, what's the difference between a world champion and an Olympic champion? And most people are like, well, an Olympic champion is just the world champion every 4 years. That is not true. Okay, the Olympics are the absolute pinnacle of our sport. Olympic champion is as high as you could ever possibly get in, the sport of wrestling, freestyle and Greco specifically. But in the World Championships, there are 10 weights, right? So there are 10 weights that are contested. So there are 10 world champions at the end of each year. At the Olympics, there are only 6 weights, right? Those 10 weights distill down to 6. So, you have world champions at non-Olympic weights that don't make an Olympic team even for their country. Like the United States usually will have a world champ at this weight and a world champ at this weight, but the upper weight is the one that is the Olympic weight, so that that lower weight either has to drop a weight or go up a weight, and wrestle against world caliber competition. But anyway, that's why being an Olympic champion is harder, because the entire world is distilled down to 6 weights.
Wait, question.
Yeah.
Is that done on purpose?
Yes, it is done on, well, yes and no. It is done on purpose to make sure that the Olympic champion is more noteworthy.
Okay.
And the Olympics want to make sure that there is equity in all the sports. So it doesn't really make sense that 30 gold medals would be given out to wrestling if there were 10 for women's and 10 for Greco and 10 for freestyle, whereas maybe only 1 or 2 golds were given to another sport.
Sure.
So essentially it's about participation and involvement, and the Olympics is about more than wrestling, but regardless. And the trials is a lot different for both as well. Now, each country is given the freedom to, as how I understand it, choose who they want to represent their country at the Olympics or the World Championships. But on non-Olympic years, when the World Championships are held, every country could send 10 people to the World Championships at each weight, right? Let's say you are Croatia, right? And you hold your world team trials and you end up figuring out who the best wrestler in your country is at each weight. All 10 of those people, should you choose to send them, could go compete at the World Championships. The World Championship brackets could be really, really big. Okay. Now the Olympics are only limited to, and I believe the number is 12. So you can't be Croatia and just raise your hand and say, we're sending our heavyweight, because you have to qualify your country for each weight in the year leading up to the Olympics. And there are multiple ways to do that. So the first way to do that is that at the Olympic weight, okay, you have to get a medal for your country at the Olympic weight. So let's say heavyweight, right? If your heavyweight from the United States takes first, second, or gold, silver, or gets one of the 2 bronze medals, then the United States is qualified for the Olympics at heavyweight. right? And we did do that. I believe Mason Paris took bronze at heavyweight last year, so that would qualify the United States for the Olympics at heavyweight. Now, upcoming in April, the United States is holding the Olympic team trials, right? So even though Mason Paris was the one that qualified the United States for the Olympics, if he doesn't win the Olympic trials, he isn't the Olympian for the United States, if that makes sense.
The weight is qualified, just not the wrestler is not designated.
Correct.
Okay.
In America.
In America, right.
In other countries, if you're the one that qualifies the weight, sometimes they're like, well, it's already locked and loaded. You're the one that's going next year at the Olympics. Okay. Each country is given the freedom to decide that for their own, to my understanding.
Okay. And then just to clarify, I had this question earlier, so if maybe you guys have it. So the Olympic team trials is only United States athletes competing for a spot.
Correct. To represent the United States.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
I was confused about okay, whatever. But continue.
Right? So heading into the year, to my knowledge, there are 4 countries that are qualified at each weight. Okay. If you are not one of those 4 countries, and you obviously want your country to go to the Olympics at that weight, there are 2 other ways that you can qualify. Okay. The first of which is to take gold or silver at your continental championships. Okay. So that's the Pan American Championships. That's the European Championships. That's the African Championships. And that's the Asian Championships. Right? So then you've got 8 people that are qualified from there, right? Because you get 2, 2, 2, and 2, right? And then the only other way, if you do not A, have a world medal the previous year, if you do not B, take first or second at your continental championships, you have to then send someone from your country to a tournament that's called the Last Chance Olympic Qualifier. Right? And only one country then that wins that bracket then gets that last spot into the Olympics. And that is like a do or die. That is one of the most competitive tournaments in the entire world because each country that's not yet qualified is sending their baddest dude, and only the person who wins is the person that qualifies their country for the Olympics.
Okay.
Now,
wait, question.
Yep.
I know you answered this, but I have the question again.
Yeah.
So the Olympic trials that is upcoming is to designate the wrestler to represent in the weight class that's already qualified. Or the one, or all the weights.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. The winner of the Olympic trials is the one that will represent the United States should the weight be qualified for the Olympics.
So it's like a tryout kind of thing, or like
exactly
right.
Okay. It is the tryout for the Olympics for the United States. Now, a unique scenario that we are dealing with at some weights, more so in Greco than freestyle. I'll use 57 kilograms as an example for freestyle. Okay. So we did not place at Worlds last year at 57 kilos and did not place top 2 at the Pan American Olympic trials or the Olympic qualifier. So currently heading into the Olympic trials, that is a weight that's not yet qualified. So in the Olympic trials, the winner of that tournament isn't necessarily an Olympian at 57 kilograms. Okay. However, the winner of that tournament will be the United States representative at the Last Chance Olympic qualifier. And should they win that, that will seal their berth to the Olympics. Now, that weight is actually one of our most competitive weights that we have because it contains Zane Richards, it contains Nick Suriano, it contains the world champ from a non-Olympic weight last year at 61 kilograms in Vitor Arujau, it has Dayton Fix, it has Spencer Lee, it has Thomas Gilman, who's won the world championships 2 or 3 times. I mean, it is a very, very competitive weight. And it would be my presumption that whoever wins at 57 kilos in Penn State in April that wins the Olympic trials will go on to qualify the weight for the Olympics, but it's not set in stone yet.
Do we know when the Last Chance Olympic qualifier thing is?
I do not know exactly when it is. It is
and
after the Olympic trials.
Mara's on it. Last Chance. Because I mean, there's not that much time left before the Olympics.
No, it's going to be fast-paced. And there are also weights in Greco that are not yet qualified, and we're going to have to send somebody there to that tournament.
What is it saying?
It says the 6th or 7th of April?
And that's probably the last chance to qualify for the Olympic trials. It's not. It's the
Olympic team trials. Yeah, no.
So type in UWW last chance.
Okay. Please hold, everyone.
We could probably cut some of this out. But
they like the suspense.
They do. We know this.
I'll fill some time. I think it was back in 2012 or maybe 2008. The last chance Olympic qualifier was on the same day as the United States Olympic team trials. So someone that they thought was going to win the Olympic team trials, the United States just sent them to that tournament.
Oh.
That person did qualify the weight. And then there was a wrestle off between that person that wasn't at the tournament and the person that won the Olympic trials.
What was that called? Do you know?
I don't remember. It was between Coleman Scott and Reese Humphrey, I believe.
Okay.
I cannot find it.
And Coleman Scott, I believe, went on to take bronze at the Olympics.
Yeah, I can't find it either. Well, we will have to get back to you. Yeah, neither
Regardless, it's okay.
But I just thought that would be fun because the Olympics are in August, July? So April, July.
Into August.
Yeah.
I bet it's in like June.
I wonder if there's, well, I guess we could look this up, or if people are interested, they could look it up themselves, I guess so. But like the women's, like, I don't know, like, and we talk about like the 57 kilograms, like that's like a one that hasn't been filled, but Nelson just said there's Greco ones that haven't been filled. Like, I wonder if there's girls ones who haven't been filled.
Women's weights, if not all of them, were qualified.
Oh, okay.
Go off.
Women are very, very competitive.
Woo! Love it.
We love that.
But yeah, so that was like an Olympic, like it was a lot. I feel like Mara said, I've heard it, Nelson probably say it like 3 or 4 times in like the past year, and I still am like, what? Like,
yeah,
so confusing. And like he said, rules change all the time, or like specific instances like pop up, and like the Olympic committees and whatever just make decisions. But I mean, watching the Olympics, it's what's fun, no matter what how it got there or whatever. So the Olympics are, like we said, in July, but watching the wrestling, I think, is, if you haven't watched it, obviously it's fun to watch, but it's also a way to support the sport, because even like however long ago it was when they were trying to get rid of wrestling or whatever, like watching it at home, like, is viewers to show that like people want to watch wrestling.
Yeah, they're interested.
Yeah. But yeah.
So that was our
Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you, Nels. We love you. Bye. He's our resident knower.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot.
Yes.
We hope you can digest everything.
I know. I feel like maybe when
I feel tired.
When we make the reels or something, we could put like graphics of like 10 people qualify and this, and like, I don't know, to like make it easier. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
But yeah, so we're here.
So that's Freestyle and Greco, everyone.
Yeah. I know we want, like Mara said, we want to talk about the rules or whatever and how it's different. But that's a lot. And that's for like another time, I guess. But I think the last thing we wanted to talk about was like just the tournaments. Yeah. If you guys are new to Freestyle and Greco, you guys may have already gone to a tournament this weekend, or maybe are going to some this week. And we wanted to give like our perspective of how we see Freestyle and Greco tournaments and stuff.
Right now?
Yeah, just real quick, like 5 minutes.
So I think from my perspective, they're just a lot more like chill and relaxed. You don't have to go to them if you don't want, because they're all like developmentals at the beginning, right? So it's all the kids going out there and like learning still how to wrestle Freestyle and Greco. Like Nelson said, there are the state series. That's where, you really need to compete and perform. But ultimately, like the tournaments are they're quick. They're like relaxed. Yeah. Like I feel like everyone's just, I don't know, relaxed, and they're just fun. Yeah. That's like, from my understanding.
And in general, I feel like they're also more like laid back and all that, because you've wrestled before. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not, I mean, at least for our club, you have to have previous wrestling experience to come and wrestle Freestyle and Greco. Just because the moves that you're learning are more high level. So they're not going to teach you how to do a takedown like they're going to teach you how to do a throw. Like, just from my understanding. So all the people who are going to the tournaments know how to work track. They know how to register their kid on track. They know how to find the mat, like for the most part. Yeah. So there's, in the best way possible, there's less like hand holding. Like, you know what I mean? Like come, some people don't wrestle, usually Greco's first. Some people don't wrestle Greco. So you just show up when you wrestle. Like, there are like weigh-ins and stuff like that, but like, it's just more like go with the flow kind of thing. And which is why we like it so much. Yeah. But I feel like in that as well, that's where like the rules and like the parents kind of get so confused, because there's less of like the hand holding. So like, if you were new to it, you're going to show up and you'll be like, wait, that match lasted literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And my kid got teched, so like, which is why we're here, and we're going to try the next episode, most likely, to talk about, like just a little bit about the points and like why they go faster and all that stuff. So yeah. But if you guys have gone to a tournament, congratulations. If not, there are a few left, but the season is short, so not that many. Because like Greco State is like in like
beginning of May.
Yeah, so like in 4 weeks. So that's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for like staying with us for all that information. As always, thank you for listening.
Yes.
Subscribe, follow, share, do all that fun stuff.
Yes.
And then we'll see you guys out there or next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Bye.